These are the assembly instructions for my chipboard banker's box. These are my 5 pieces of chipboard for the base of the box. This is the bottom of my box. I have the long side and the shorter side. My lining pieces are all cut out of the same color, so I have them numbered from 1 till 4. The pieces marked with 1 are for the outside of my banker's box, so the external pieces, and the pieces marked with 2 are for the inside of my box. And pieces marked with 3 and 4 are reserved for the lid. So I'm taking the largest piece that has the number 1 on it, and I'm folding down on the score lines on the 4 sides, and that will create the tabs for my base. I'm positioning the bottom of my box inside that piece. So I'm going to start with a piece that's shaped like this. I have 4 of them, and I'm just folding them in half on that center score line. When cutting this project, be sure to put your pretty side of your cardstock down on the mat. These are join pieces, and I folded down on all 4 of them. I'm going to take my 2 longer pieces. I'm putting glue from the score line to the edge on half of it. I'm gluing it down to the shorter edge of one of my sides, and that score line has to be right on the edge of my piece. And the glue that I'm using is a Beacon 3-in-1. It takes longer to dry than a water-based adhesive, so I have some wiggle room. I have some time to position my pieces exactly the way I want. I'm just going to glue in all 4 of these pieces exactly the same way, making sure that that point is right at the top and that my score line is right along the edge of my piece. I'm putting a B on the bottom of my box so that you can see what I'm working on. Piece number 1 and piece number 2 are very similar. I'm taking piece number 2, and it belongs on top of my bottom piece. I'm going to take my bottom piece out for now. I'm putting glue all along the tab that's on the long side, and then I'm gluing that tab right along the bottom of my chipboard piece. So I want this to be flush with the side. I want the score lines on each side to be even with the sides of my chipboard piece, and it should create these nice little mitered corners. So that's one side done. I'm going to do that on the other side as well, putting glue on that tab, and then maybe easier to see from the underside. I want to position it just right. The bottom of my chipboard is right at the score line. 3 sets of score lines are even on both sides. I'm bringing back my bottom piece, and I'm putting glue all over the surface of it. I'm taking the piece that I've just assembled, I'm folding up the sides, and I want my piece to fit exactly on the base. So all 4 edges have to be flush with that bottom piece. I'm folding up the sides and making sure that my sides are nice and even on all 4 sides. You want both of these side tabs to be even with that piece of chipboard. So when those long sides are at a 90 degree, they should be flush with the bottom piece. Those pieces are sitting on top of your chipboard. All right, so next I'm bringing back my side pieces. I'm putting glue all along those 3 joining tabs on one side, and then I'm grabbing my side piece and I'm gluing it in. So that side piece is right on my craft mat, and I'm making sure I'm adjusting my sides so that they're completely flush. You may have to push out on them a little bit just to make sure that they're positioned properly. And then I'm going in with my bone folder and spreading that glue. Then I'm just going to do the exact same thing on the other side. So one thing that's important to mention is that I am letting my glue dry between the layers. So next I have my join pieces that have the 1 on them, and I'm just folding them all in half. So next I have these pieces in a V formation with the writing on the inside, and I'm putting glue inside, and then I'm just gluing it to the corner of my box. So it's fitting over that join, and it's perfectly positioned between the bottom and the top, like so. And I'm going to do that with all 4 of my corners. So now I'm going to turn my box over so that I'm looking at the bottom of it, and then I've got that piece that has the number 1 on it, and I folded down on the 4 sides to form the tabs, and I'm just going to glue it to the bottom of my box. I'm putting glue on all 4 tabs, and then I'm covering the bottom of my box in glue. I'm positioning my piece so that the folds are exactly on the sides of my box, and I'm just spreading that glue. And then I have 2 lengths of these pieces with more of those number 2 on them, and if you notice, these have double score lines in the center, folding down on both score lines. So now that I've folded down on these, I've got them in the V formation, and I'm covering them in glue. The short ones go on the short ends of my box. Flat bit goes just along the edge. When you fold between those score lines, it creates a flat edge. So you want that flat edge to go right on the edge of your box. And then I'm just spreading that glue. And I'm going to glue down all 4 edges the exact same way. So now I have my series of rectangles to cover my box. The ones marked with 2 are for the inside of the box, and the ones marked with 1 are for the outside of the box. So I'm just covering my panels with glue, and the larger ones go on the larger side, like so. And then the smaller ones go on the ends of my box, or the smaller sides, like so. So now I have the panels marked with number 1 to glue into the interior. So I'm just going to cover them with glue and glue them inside my box. So next I'm working on the lid for my box. Its assembly is very similar to the base. So again, I have my pieces labeled with numbers. Number 3 is for the underside or the interior of the box. Number 4 is for the outside or the external part of the box. These are the chipboard pieces for the lid of my box. I'm taking the join pieces that have the number 3 on them. So I'm putting glue from the score line to the edge on 1/2, and I'm taking one of the shorter pieces, so one of the end pieces, and I'm placing my join piece so the score line is right on the edge of my chipboard piece, and I want the tip of that join piece to be right at the top, so there's a little bit of a gap on the bottom there. So next I'm putting glue on the other half of that join piece. I'm taking one of my longer pieces. I want the very end of it to be at the end of my chipboard, so not at the end of the join piece, but at the end of my chipboard, like so. I put the shorter piece down on my craft mat, and I'm pushing the long piece so that it's flush with my craft mat. So next I'm putting glue on another one of those join pieces, so from the score line to the edge. So this is the long edge, this is the short edge, and I'm placing it on the short edge and towards the tops. This join piece is right at the top, and so is this one. So you want to keep consistent with all 4 of them. All 4 of them have to be towards the top of your chipboard piece. So this forms the edge of half of my lid. I'm going to form the other half the exact same way. I'm putting glue from the score line to the edge on my join piece, and I'm just putting it right on the edge of my chipboard and right at the top. The score line is right against the edge of my chipboard, and the top of my join piece is right at the top of my chipboard as well. And I'm doing that at the other end of the short chipboard piece as well, adhering my join piece so that it's right up against the edge. And then I'm putting glue on the other half of the join piece that's closest to me. And then I'm taking my long piece. I want the edges of my chipboard to match at the corner here. Again, I'm placing the shorter piece down on my craft mat and pushing down on the long piece as far as it'll go to make sure that it's flush with the edge of the smaller piece. So next I have the piece that has the number 3 on it. I have folded up on all the score lines for all 4 sides. So I'm putting glue all over my bottom piece of chipboard, and then I'm placing my piece on top of my chipboard. I want the score lines of my piece to be right up against the edges of my piece of chipboard. So I've got my piece number 3 facing upwards. I'm putting glue on one of the long tabs and one of the short tabs. And then I'm bringing one of my sides over and just gluing it in place. The bottom of my side is against my craft mat, and both sides are following along the edge of my chipboard. And then I'm just going in there with my bone folder and spreading that glue. I'm going to do the same thing with my second side. I'm putting glue along the short tab and the long tab, and I'm putting glue on this side tab and on the side tab that's already adhered. And then I'm just placing my piece. I want the shorter piece of chipboard to be right along the edge of my corner, and I'm just making sure that all my corners are in place. So now I'm flipping my piece over. I've got the join pieces with the number 4 on them, and I have them in a V position. I'm putting glue in the interior of that V, and then I'm just gluing the join piece to the corner like so. The score line is right on the corner, and the piece is flush both on the left and the right. I'm going to adhere all 4 join pieces. All right, so next I have piece number 4. And I've folded down on the score lines to create the tabs on 4 sides. I'm putting glue from the score line to the edge on all 4 of those tabs, and then I'm putting glue all over the top of my lid, and then I'm positioning that lining piece right on top. I want the sides to be nice and even, and then I'm just spreading that glue. So next I'm taking one of the panels for the long side, and then I'm putting glue all over the outside of one of my long sides, and then I'm putting glue all along the long edge and halfway up the sides. And then I'm adhering that piece on the long side like so. I'm going in with my bone folder and spreading that glue, and then I'm running my stylus just along the edge like so. Now, if you don't have a stylus, you can use a ballpoint pen that's run out of ink. I'm placing my long side on the mat, and I'm just sort of bring the box down so that it creates the fold, and then I'm putting glue on the other half of that panel. I'm running my bone folder along the side, and I'm folding that panel to the interior of my lid, and then just spreading that glue. So I'm going to do that with the other side as well. And then I'm going to do exactly the same thing for the shorter panels as well. All right, so this is the base of my box, and here's the lid. So it makes that nice whoosh sound when you put the lid on.